Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Today, I'm going to share a story that is incredibly difficult for me to tell. It's a story of a mistake I made, a betrayal I suffered, and the painful consequences of both. I hope that by sharing my raw, honest truth, I can help someone out there who might be walking down a similar path. Please, listen to my story and learn from my mistakes. My name is Claire. For 8 years, I was a wife and a mother to 4 beautiful children. My husband, Mark, was the kind of man you'd describe as a rock. He was steady, reliable, and deeply committed to our family. We built a life together from the ground up. We shared the messy, wonderful chaos of raising children, the late-night feedings, the school runs, the homework struggles, and the quiet moments after the kids were finally asleep. Our love wasn't the fiery romance you see in movies. It was something deeper, something rooted in shared history, mutual respect, and the daily grind of building a life. But somewhere along the way, I started to feel unseen. Our conversations had become less about us and more about logistics. Who was picking up which kid, what we were having for dinner, and whose turn it was to do laundry. The passion had settled into a comfortable, almost predictable routine. I had become mom and wife, and I missed being Claire. I missed feeling desired, cherished, and noticed for who I was beyond my roles. This feeling of quiet dissatisfaction was a small crack in the foundation of my life, a tiny opening for something else to sneak in. And it did, in the most modern of ways. It was a message on a social media platform from a man who called himself Riley. His profile was intriguing, an adventurous traveler, a witty conversationalist, and a man who seemed to have a deep appreciation for the arts and literature. He was everything my life at that moment felt it wasn't. Our first few chats were harmless enough. He asked me about my day, about my hobbies. He seemed genuinely interested in the small, forgotten parts of my life. He'd ask what I was reading, what music I liked, what my dreams were. Things that Mark, bless his heart, hadn't asked in years. Riley's messages were like a breath of fresh air. They were a reminder that I was still a person with thoughts, dreams, and a personality. He wasn't talking to Mom, he was talking to Claire. The casual conversations quickly blossomed into something more intense. We would text for hours after the kids were in bed, the screen of my phone a beacon in the dark, silent house. He was incredibly eloquent with his words. He had a way of making me feel like I was the most fascinating woman in the world. He would tell me how he admired my resilience, my intelligence, and the strength he saw in me. He painted a picture of a soul connection, a bond that transcended the physical and the digital. He started to talk about our future, a future where we would travel the world together, where he would support my dreams, and where I would finally be truly happy. He made my life with Mark sound dull, mundane, a prison of domesticity that I didn't deserve to be in. He never directly insulted Mark, but he would subtly contrast my life with his grand vision for us. He'd say things like, "You're a star, Claire, but you're living in a small town. You were meant for a bigger stage." His words became my new reality. The more I talked to him, the more my dissatisfaction with my marriage grew. The little things Mark did that I once found endearing, his habit of leaving his socks on the floor, his quiet grunts of contentment while watching a game, now became glaring flaws. I started to resent the predictability of my life, the stability that I had once cherished. I was living in a beautiful, comfortable house, but I felt like I was in a cage, and Riley held the key. Then came the conversation that changed everything. One night, after months of intense messaging, Riley told me he loved me. He said he had never felt this way about anyone, that our connection was destined. But, he said, he couldn't be with a married woman. He was a man of integrity, he claimed, and he wouldn't ask me to be unfaithful. He said that for us to have a future, for us to finally be together, I would have to end my marriage. The request was a punch to the gut. The reality of what he was asking me to do was immense. I had a husband, a family, a life. But I was so deeply entrenched in the fantasy that I couldn't see the reality. I was addicted to the way he made me feel, the promises he was making. I was a puppet, and he was pulling the strings. He convinced me that this was the only path to true happiness. He made me believe that I was doing everyone a favor by leaving, that Mark and I were both stuck in a rut and deserved a chance to find real love. The moment I told Mark I wanted a divorce, it was like the world stopped spinning. We were sitting in the living room, a space filled with so many memories, our kids' first steps, their birthday parties, our quiet movie nights. His face went from confusion to utter disbelief. He kept asking, "Why, Claire? What happened? Did I do something wrong? I couldn't bring myself to tell him the truth. The shame was too heavy to bear. I said something vague about us growing apart, wanting different things. He was heartbroken. He pleaded with me, asked if we could go to counseling, if we could try to fix things for the sake of our children. My heart ached for him, for the pain I was causing, but my mind was a fog of Riley's sweet promises. I was so convinced that I was doing the right thing, that I was on the brink of a new, beautiful life, that I ignored the agony in Mark's eyes. The divorce proceedings were a nightmare. The tension in our home was unbearable. Our children, bless their innocent hearts, were confused and scared. They would ask why. Daddy was sleeping on the couch, why we weren't smiling anymore. I would hold them, a knot of guilt in my stomach, and promise them that everything would be okay. All the while, Riley was my silent cheerleader, my digital confidant. He'd send me messages of encouragement, telling me how strong and brave I was. He was the anchor I held on to as I tore my own ship apart. He'd say, "Just a little longer, my love. Soon you'll be free. Soon we'll be together, and all this pain will just be a distant memory." I believed every single word. I clung to those promises like a lifeline, using them to justify the pain I was inflicting on my family. The final court date came and went. The paperwork was signed, the decree was stamped. I was officially a single woman. It was a bizarre moment. A part of me felt a profound sense of sadness for the end of a chapter, but a bigger part was pulsing with exhilaration. I was free. I could finally be with Riley. I rushed home, my fingers flying across the screen of my phone. I wrote a text message to Riley, my heart pounding in my chest. It was a long, breathless message filled with excitement and relief. "It's done," I typed. "I'm officially divorced. We can finally be together." I hit send and waited. I waited for an hour. Then 2. The silence was deafening. My phone, which had buzzed with his messages for months on end, was completely still. I started to feel a prickle of unease. I tried calling him. The call went straight to voicemail, but not the one I was used to hearing. It was a generic automated message. "The number you have dialed is not in service." Panic set in. My hands were trembling as I navigated to his social media profiles. His account was gone. Not deactivated, but completely deleted. I searched for his name, his profile picture, anything I could find. It was as if he had been wiped from the face of the earth. He had blocked me from every single platform we had ever connected on. The man I had given up my family for, the man who had promised me a lifetime of happiness, had vanished. The realization was a physical blow. I sank to the floor, the phone still clutched in my hand, and I wept. The tears were not of sorrow for him, but of a profound, soul-crushing regret for myself. He was a ghost, a carefully crafted lie. I had been manipulated, used, and then thrown away like yesterday's trash. The love, the promises, the poetry, it was all a fabrication, a tool to achieve a goal that I still couldn't comprehend. In my mind, a frantic, desperate thought formed. I had to get Mark back. I had to fix this. It wasn't too late. I could explain everything. He would understand. He would forgive me. He was my rock after all. He would still be there. I tried to call him, but he didn't answer. I sent him a series of frantic, tear-soaked text messages, confessing everything. I told him about Riley, about the deception, about my foolishness. I begged for his forgiveness. I told him how much I missed him, how much I regretted everything, and how I knew now that our love was real and worth fighting for. He eventually replied. His message was short, but it cut deeper than any knife. "Claire, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. But it's too late. I can't do this. I can't trust you. You broke my heart and you broke our family. You need to take some time to figure out who you are without someone else telling you." His words were a final, devastating blow. I had burned the bridge behind me, and there was no going back. The man I had once shared a bed with, the father of my children, was gone. The security, the comfort, the love I had so foolishly thrown away was now an insurmountable wall of hurt and mistrust. In the weeks and months that followed, I had to come to terms with the magnitude of my mistake. I had to face the reality of my new life as a single mother. I had to look my children in the eyes and explain why their father no longer lived with us, all because their mother had been a fool. The regret was a constant companion, a heavy blanket that smothered me every morning when I woke up alone. Mark and I eventually found a way to co-parent, but our relationship as husband and wife was over. I had sacrificed a genuine, flawed but loving partnership for a fantasy, a ghost in the machine. I had allowed myself to be deceived by sweet words and promises from a stranger, and it cost me everything. That is my story. I am sharing it not for sympathy, but as a cautionary tale. In this age of social media, it's so easy to fall into the trap I did. We see carefully curated lives, charming photos, and witty conversations, and we start to believe in the fantasy. We start to compare our imperfect real lives to a flawless, fabricated online persona. Please, I beg of you, do not make the same mistake I did. Do not allow a stranger to come between you and the people who truly love and value you. Value the relationships you have in the real world. A relationship with shared history, with flaws and imperfections, is worth more than 100 promises from an online stranger. If you are feeling unappreciated in your relationship, talk to your partner. Communicate your feelings. Go to counseling. Do the hard work of fixing what's broken before you ever consider throwing it all away for a virtual romance. My mistake was not that I was unhappy. My mistake was that I looked for happiness in the wrong place and with the wrong person. Cherish the people who are there for you, who have seen you through your best and your worst. Don't be fooled by the sweet words of someone you've never met. Don't let someone from behind a screen convince you to dismantle the beautiful life you've built in the real world. My life is still a work in progress. I am still picking up the pieces. And the hardest part is knowing that all of this could have been avoided if I had just chosen to be present in my own life, to appreciate the love I had instead of chasing a ghost. Thank you for listening. I know it was a long story, but I felt it was one that needed to be told in its entirety. If you have a similar experience, or if this story has touched you in some way, please share your thoughts or your story in the comments below. If this video resonated with you, please give it a thumbs up. And to stay connected and hear more stories like mine, please subscribe to my channel and turn on the notification bell. Remember, love is real, and it's found in the quiet moments, the shared struggles, and the steady presence of someone who is truly there for you. Don't trade that for a fantasy.